Welcome to Season 2 of Guardians of Gaia, connecting people and planet, our collective home where all life exists in a common ecosystem. I'm Megan Edwards, and we will explore the environmental world and also see how people are trying to save the planet and fight the system that is killing it. In this episode, we actually focus on water and sanitation and the problems that the lack of access to water and sanitation causes for people and the planet. If you or someone you know in your community are actively doing their part in the fight against climate change, or if you wish for us to come and tackle a very specific environmental issue in your community, then please email us at gog@capetowntv.org. In this episode of Guardians of Gaia, connecting people and planet, we take a look at water and sanitation services, how it's really impacting people and the environment, and its importance for human dignity and health. Now, water is, of course, at the heart of life on this planet, as all forms of life depend on water. What humans do with water and how we use it not only impacts people, but it impacts the planet too. South Africa is a hotspot for climate change, meaning that the impacts will become more and more severe. We are already facing a water crisis caused by longer droughts. Access to decent water and sanitation services is still very much dependent on where you live and what you can afford. Both spatial planning, that is the development of water and sanitation infrastructure, and the economy have been effectively transformed, or rather it hasn't been effectively transformed since the end of apartheid. This means that water and toilets are still primarily accessed along race and, of course, class lines. Access to water and sanitation and hygiene is even more important now during the COVID-19 pandemic, as Asif Kelani shows us on the next clip about Cape Town during 2020.
Igama lami ndinguTamara Hela, ndihlala eKhayelitsha eMakhaza kwi-informal settlement called Umsindweni. Istory sam, it's about Khayelitsha and toilet maintenance. Ii-toilet zalapha aziclean. Ii-toilet zalapha okokuqalela COVID-19 kwathiwa yi-lockdown. But sayifaka i-complaint yokubana ii-toilet zethu azicleanwa. Bakhona abantu noba 2 to 3 weeks emva koko baphinda babonakale zimdaka ii-toilet zethu ziblokile, aziklinwa. Kwezi ntsuku zigqithileyo zonke nditsho noba kungasuka bani osuka phi, national or provincial, asuke kuloo ndawo azojonga apha emsindweni. Andiyazi ukhuseleko lwethu kule COVID-19 luphi na. Ziya kunyanzeleka laa ntsholongwane ikufumane ngoba uyaya ezi toilet, uya kwakho ezi toilet, kulapho ke ngoku uzawugula khona because zimdaka.
Cape Town's sanitation traffic light has remained orange during the lockdown, but a closer look shows some serious problems with the cleaning of communal toilets. The latest Asivigelane results show that 32% of the residents that we spoke to are using toilets that have not been cleaned in the last 7 days. These residents live across 19 informal settlements. This worries us because of how fast COVID-19 is spreading in Cape Town's informal settlements. 30% of Asivigelane residents also said that they did not have access to water every time they needed it. Inconsistent access to water poses a serious health risk because residents can't always get water to wash their hands.
The City of Cape Town provides and maintains approximately 50,000 toilets and over 7,000 standpipes to households in about 500 informal settlement pockets. Our COVID-19 emergency response has seen the rollout of the following programs during lockdown. More than 41 million litres of water delivered via water trucks, 307 water tanks installed, increased janitorial cleaning services and servicing of toilets, and 1,400 more toilets will be provided. We continue to engage with communities to address challenges, and we ask residents to help us look after this infrastructure.
Sikukho Asivigelane campaign ndiyacela apha eKhayelitsha Magqigqwa kuzojonga imeko lapha usithi akasikhathalelanga kule ndawo sohlala kuyo. So ndiyacela bethunani asivikelelekanga tu apha eKhayelitsha, asivikelelekanga tu, simdaka itoilet.
There are links between water and sanitation and climate change because water in South Africa will become more and more scarce. And this is why access to water and sanitation forms part of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. In order to deal with impacts of climate change, we have to have a plan to make sure that everyone has access to decent sanitation. Water and sanitation is also a gender issue because of the roles imposed on women in relation to domestic work, care work and growing food. It also impacts girls and women because of the different biological needs, for example, hygiene and menstruation. The burden of a lack of access to water and sanitation is placed solely on women and girls. We spoke to community members about their own experiences with water and sanitation.
Akho nto ndiyicaphukela nendingayifuni nendenza umsindo njengomshingo. Awunawuthi ungumntu umdala umncinci usebenzisa ibhakethi emini nasebusuku kanti isithi iyasifuna isidima sawo usibonakalisa isidima sawo ebantwini abamnyama. Igama lam ndinguzukiswa Qezo, ndihlala ko-RR Khayelitsha. There's a lot of challenges here in our section. Kuyicala toilet. Toilets zalapha asikho safe. Zimbalwa. And okokuqala zazikhona zimbalwa zikude kunathi. Abantu balapha abangena toilet uzanele xaki wafumana i-car accident. Kuwela indlela uyozirelieve ehlathini in the open space. And then my husband was attacked by thugs next to N2. And kwakho umama unosakhe wayene 6 years ekukho i-drain phambi kwendlu yakhe yayiphuma isura ijongene endlini yakhe. So umyeni wakhe wa-affectwa yi-TB, abantwana bakhe babe-affectwa yi-diarrhea, behlala i-Red Cross for 6 years. Asikho safe abeKhayelitsha. Umshengu xa kushushu akunyamezele ungena kumshengu. Ushushu uyabila, uba nempethu, uyanuka, and indlela ababekwa ngayo abayenzi i-foundation. Ipotapota thina abantu bangomama iyasafetha kakhulu. Siba ne-infections ngaphansi. Isithi ayisikhathalele sanetoilet, sangabi nazitoilet, eyona priority yayo si-contract services. Sifuna isithi ithathe uxanduva kumsebenzi wayo wozasitoilet yakhe only itoilet eziflashwayo kwi-informal settlement. okanye ize neplan. Kulaa plan ize nendlela ezawuthi isokhela iithoyilethi ezingaphi, ize ne-time frame yobana ndiza kukha iithoyilethi ku-R ezi-20 for i-3 months. Eyona nto sifuna isithi itshintshe yinto yobana itshintshe indlela esihlala ngayo, itshintshe indlela eyenza ngayo izinto.
I have to do my things on my own. If I'm not waking up, no one is gonna waking up for me. I'm Astandile. My name is Kaka. I'm living in informal settlement at Kosovo. So I was gunshotted at Eastern Cape by the Tsotsis. I know those people who did that to me. They only stay 1 year behind bars. I'm using wheelchair. Yeah, it's not easy to live in Kosovo because of the streets. I can't use toilet without someone to assist me. The toilets in my area, they are only for able people, no toilet for disabled people. I have to ask my brother to fetch me from the wheelchair. So like I feel useless. I don't feel myself as if I don't feel comfortable. When there is no one at home, anything can happen. I can prepare myself because there's no one who's gonna help me to the toilet. I think City of Cape Town can increase more budget so that at least somewhere somehow we can feel equally disabled people and able people.
According to the Mail and Guardian, 56% of municipal wastewater treatment works and 44% of water treatment works are in poor or critical condition, with 11% being dysfunctional. We spoke with Nick Hammer of EMG about the role of water and sanitation services since 1994, to also get an idea of what government has done since to address apartheid imbalances.
I mean, just a little bit of context, perhaps, that I think it is important to remember that after 1994 and the end of apartheid, there were huge strides made to deal with the gross inequality in South Africa. And so a lot of effort was made to make sure that people who previously were discriminated against and did not have access to basic water and sanitation, that they were connected to the system. So there was a huge amount of effort and work put into putting together the National Water Act in 1998, I think it was. And so there were great strides to start with in really dealing with the problem from a people-centered approach and making sure that township areas and rural areas that had not been given water by the racist government were given access to those resources, and there was delivery of those resources for a long time. But after a period of years, for example, in 2013, up to 2013, we had what were called green and blue drop audits that were done on an annual basis, and those audits stopped happening. So up to then, civil society was able to engage and say, there's this problem with the water supply in my municipality, there's this problem with the sewage treatment works, and then civil society, government and industry stakeholders knew what was happening and they could engage with the problem and look for a solution. It doesn't make finding the solution that easy necessarily, but they were able to do that. But from 2013 until this year, those audits have not taken place, or they've not been released to the public. So there's been a sense of distrust between civil society and with government, because there hasn't been this openness anymore about what the actual situation is. There's been a kind of defensiveness that when things are not working as they should, that we'll try and hide the truth from people. So it's very encouraging that this year there's been an announcement that the green and blue drops are going to happen going forward. And so I think there is a need to rebuild this trust.
That was Nick Hammer from ENG talking to us about what must be done to meet the growing water and sanitation human rights needs of South Africa. But when we come back from the break, we are once again joined by the National Department of Water and Sanitation. In this sponsored slot, we focus on Global Hand Washing Day and showcase a water and sanitation project launched by the department in Kliprand in the Western Cape. The importance of hand hygiene has become more prominent now more than ever, of course brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. So stay tuned with us right here on Cape Town TV, Channel 263.